This is the last of the 3 Terminators from the quick assembly box. It's quite an interesting box actually. It's three Terminators have a very distinct sort of theme to them. So one guy's armor's got teeth all over it, one guy's covered in tentacles, and then this guy, well, hopefully as you can see, he's covered in horns. So yeah, they're nice sort of group of figs actually. This is all still part of the stuff which I am painting up for the local game store, I guess is probably the right way. It's Bristol Big, and its Jim has just been giving me a bunch of Deathguard stuff. It's like, yeah, I'm just doing it as a freebie. It's not like a proper paid commission, but I just when I had the starter set in, I saw them all laid out on display, and I said to him, I was like, those are cool. If you're not planning on painting them up, could I do those? Because they're just a bit different to what I've been doing previously, and just really fancied doing them. I've not played 40k since I don't know, probably since about 20 to 25 years ago. So a couple of times I've sort of nearly got back into it, but it's never stuck. So I don't really want to own an army, but I fancied painting them, so I said I would just do one for him, because he said he wanted to have them just for the effectively a spare army, so he could use for stand-in players at events and stuff like that. So yeah, when I got the chance, I jumped at it, and then he's just been throwing me boxes from basically whatever has not moved through terribly quickly on his shelves. So yeah, I've done all the stuff from the whatever the 40k starter set with the Deathguard thing in was called, and then I've done another squad of the Plague Marines. I've done the quick assembly Blight Hauler. Is that the sort of mini tank thing? I've done 3 of the Scythe Terminators. I forgot what they're called. The ones that came over from 30k. And then I've done this, as I say, this is the quick start Terminator unit. So that is 3 Terminators, and then one of the Terminator largy type dudes. Again, no idea what his proper name is. Oh, and I did a couple of the other sort of unique characters. The guy Tallyman that does all the counting, and the plague surgeon. So yeah, it's just been, it's really fun actually, just to do something a bit different. But I've actually just recently, with the Nurgle release, just been updating my own Nurgle stuff. So I've got, and this is a great big model, but I've got the Great Unclean one. Doesn't even fit on the screen, but that's just basically airbrush primed, and then a couple of washes on him just to get him started, and he'll be my next focus once I've finished off these guys. But yeah, it was originally I took it on because I've not done anything like this, and then I've ended up doing my own Nurgle stuff, and I decided to do the what they called the Rotbringers, with a sort of similar sort of scheme. So, and I did the Slave to Darkness Chaos Warriors similarly as well. As he falls off, a few of them sat here. So I've ended up painting a whole load of stuff that looks pretty similar, but it's proper good fun to paint this Nurgly stuff, because, well, you can see from what I'm doing, it's not mega precision and mega control, and actually I've got a totally screwed up brush tip there on purpose, because I quite like the way the way it actually works once it's feathered out, that you get that broken up uneven effect across the armour. And that's actually exactly what I'm going for on this, is it starts to look, well, hopefully you can see it on the back there, but it just kind of gets a bit, what is it, further away will be my focus, gets a bit streaky. And it's that sort of streaky look that makes the armour work, I think. And just having the tip of the brush not perfect actually helps with that, which is really, well, counter to what you do most of the time with painting. As you can see, if I can fan it out flat like this, with loads of paint on it, it just gives me a fantastic sort of streaking on the armour. So just when I start layering the lighter layers on top of this, I get the real sort of unevenness to the whole armour, which is what I'm looking for, and it's what makes it work. But yeah, they are proper good fun to paint. And yeah, massively forgiving as well, actually. I would say this is a great starter army for anyone that's not done a lot of painting before, because again, if my coats of paint aren't perfectly even and smooth and everything, well, that's just part of the effect. It's like I can just build that in. Whereas if you did that with like a, I don't know, the most obvious example is like a Tau. Tau is all like super smooth and clean lines and stuff. It's like if you did this to Tau, I guess you could in theory get a similarly sort of dinged up effect, and then if you started layering on weathering, that could look quite cool, but that's not normally how people make their Tau look, so you would need to properly go to town on it to make it work. Otherwise it would just look like you've done a shit job. This arm's got, have I never glued that on? Oh, right enough, you can see it's just loose on its pin. Tighten that up. Right, that's the first layer. So now, that was just, I was working off primer, and then I'd layered, what's it called, the camo shade, Athonian camo shade over the top of it. Just a thick wash of that all over it, and then that was Carrick Stone, just going back over. Carrick Stone is pretty much the same tone as what my, I use some of the Vallejo primers, and they've got I can't remember what it's called exactly, a sand primer, but it's not far off what Carrick Stone is, so I use that as my zenith on them, and then just spray that over the top, and then put the wash on, bring them back up with the Carrick Stone, and then start. This is a mix of sort of 50-50 Carrick Stone and then Pallid Witchface, and then actually maybe got a little bit too much pallid in there. Just mix it better on my palette. And then I just bring this up through this and then onto straight pallid, but then I'll put a little bit of white onto sort of extreme edges. That's about the extent of it. But yeah, nothing terribly complex, and I'm sure people have done much nicer paint jobs on these guys, but it's army painting looks quite good when you put it all together, and as I say, it's a painted army for people to borrow. So no one wants to. Well, I can't paint to the quality of a sort of top end competition painter anyway, or at least I don't paint to. I can't is a bad thing to say, because anyone can do it if they just spend the time putting the hours in and practicing. But I don't want to. It's not how I paint. I do the occasional top end model, and the Exalted Great Unclean one I did last year. It's probably one of my nicest. And then the year before that I did the Mears Miniatures Plague Demon. That's basically it's a Great Unclean one as well, but it's a different manufacturer, so slightly different aesthetic to it. But that one I took to the year before. Was it maybe even the year before that? Anyway, I took that to South Coast, and they do. South Coast GT AOS, biggest singles AOS event in the world at the moment. It's up 200 people, and I took that to that, and they do a painting competition on the Saturday night, and it won the best monster. So I was, I mean, that's crowning achievement. I've won a couple of army awards in smaller fields, but that was the one which made me think that okay, I would love to be able to do this on a regular basis, and then actually try and get a best army as well. So I've won best army at 16 to 20 player sized events, but I've never won it at a big one. But it was doing that, or that model winning that award was what inspired me to then do the Exalted Great Unclean one. So the Forge World Unclean one model. And I painted that like properly and put the effort in, and it's in my cabinet over there. I won't bother going to get it. And that's the extent of kind of proper painting I've done. The rest of the stuff I do is all just army level painting. Every so often I get that urge to do something a bit higher, but it's the vast majority of what I do is churning out volumes of, well, I would like to claim decent top end tabletop standard, but who knows? As I say, I'm not someone that gets myself those nominations for best painted armies. So I should really up my effort if that's what I want. Hopefully you can tell this is something that's been on my mind, thinking about whether I put the effort in on a regular basis and try and up my standard, or if I just keep churning stuff. Well, it's a tough decision, because there's something to just repeatedly turning out lots of armies, lots of models, and getting through a high volume of stuff. And most war gamers ultimately end up buying tons of models, which they have grand army plans for, but then never ever get around to painting. So what I committed to in, I think it was 2011, was the 365 in 365. So you have to, the challenge is to complete 365 models in a year, or 366 in a leap year. So you're doing averaging one per day. And it's all about just getting yourself painting, giving yourself a motivation factor, churning through the backlog. And I built up a huge backlog. I mean, even with doing that, and that's, as I say, 2011 to now, so 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 7 years, is that right? Yeah, whatever it is, 7 or 8 years of painting. As I say, a couple of years I fell slightly short, but a couple of years I was well over, and I've averaged over one a day for the last 7 years. But even with doing that, I've not significantly put a dent in my stash. I mean, it's come down a chunk, and then I in the last couple of years with AOS coming out and Fantasy Battle being blown up. Previously my objective was to have all 16 armies fully painted. That was including Chaos Dwarfs, the total number of armies in Fantasy. I think I got to 11 before they blew it up. But AOS doesn't really have the same sort of army structure because you can do Grand Alliance of the 4 sort of Grand Alliances, and you can mix and match all of them. And it started to move away a little bit from it now that most people are playing individual factions. But because of the 4 Grand Alliances, there wasn't a nice clean target number, and they broke all of the factions down into lots of little sub-factions. So it ended up that the way I was painting before didn't really fit with AOS. So that pretty much demotivated me to keep bashing on the 16. I decided to can it. So I sold off the Chaos Dwarfs that I had that were all the old big hat ones, because I quite like my old style armies as well. And decided, right, I'm just not doing this. And then for AOS, I started off by doing one of each of the Grand Alliance armies and sort of painting those up. So Tomb Kings was always my favourite, so I did them, and then they've always been effectively dropped from dropped by GW at the moment. Whether they come back in the form of, and this is AOS lore, but if they come back in the form of Crimson Kings, then yeah, I'll get back all over them. And I still play them, but they're not really a current army. And then I did Moon Clan, which is the old Night Goblins for destruction. Now, again, they don't have their own faction as yet, so it looks like they'll probably get one this year, given the Malign Portents model that they've shown off for the sort of what was it called, fungoid something or other. Anyway, because of him, I'm assuming we'll get a Moon Clan book this year, and they didn't get anything in the General's Handbook, so they are likely to get a book, I think. So I've got them, but again, they're not painted particularly hugely or particularly well. I originally did them for I'm guessing it was 8th Ed, and I did them as part of a mixed Orc and Goblin army, but I had whatever it was, 120, 200 odd goblins, and then all the war machines and stuff like that. I never really had the squig side of things. So if they major on that on the Moon Clan, that'd be quite cool. I could get to add those. But, because it was the 200 odd models, and as I say, my objective of painting 365 in a year, they weren't painted to a high standard. They were, as I say, acceptable tabletop, maybe a fraction better than you would see as normal, but because of the volume, I didn't particularly push it. So I've got them, and then so what's that? That's Death and Destruction, which, if anyone follows AOS, you'll know they're the red-headed stepchildren of the AOS environment at the moment. So hopefully they'll get a bit more love this year. And then for Order, I kind of specifically targeted a mixed Order army to begin with, because I had every single Order army in the Warhammer Fantasy, so it wasn't quite the same for me that I was having to that I could pick up whatever the new stuff was and just focus on them. I wanted to flip over all my old ones, and the first army I did was the dwarfs, the dispossessed, or the Duarden, whatever you want to call them, under AOS. Now, those ones I was specifically using my old models, so I started back in late 80s, I guess. So I've got a shitload of the old metals. So I did an entire army of pre-1994 dwarves, and yeah, took that to South Coast a couple of years back, and yeah, it did fairly well. I think it was top quarter or something. Had my last game not been a massive blowout, I would have been in the top 10. And they were just part of it is I designed an effective list with a bunch of synergies, but also they were just using all the cool old models. So it's like my dwarf warriors were the Prince Althars, the Quarrelers were Bugman's Rangers. I had the old 3rd edition Hammerers. Yeah, basically all the super old dwarf models, which just boatloads of fun character in those models, and the faces are really cool. It's all face, beard, and armor mostly. But that was where I started in order, and then I pulled over a bunch of my lizardmen, so the Seraphim, a bunch of my wood elves, and just sort of blended it all together into a mixed order army. But all the old stuff. And that's where I went. I took that to the GW Heat 2 last year, and again, I can't remember quite where I came, but sort of top half, possibly top quarter, with what was kind of a stupid gunline army, but yeah, taking advantage of the dwarf quarrelers as the core of it. But yeah, they then got the stuff that made that army tick was then turned into compendium. So under the 2017 handbook, army just doesn't work anymore. But then I also did a bit of playing mixed chaos, and that was Skaven, Nurgle, bit of Siege, bit of Khorne, brought it all over. And then as the books came out, so the Khorne book came out, and I did a what are they called, Bloodbound army, so it became Blades of Khorne. So that became quite a cool little project. Then the Siege book came out. I didn't ever want to particularly play them, but the models were quite cool, and I had from previous editions. I had a demon army, so I had the 30 horrors really, which is the core of a Siege army. So I wanted to do one of the new Great Unclean ones because they were cool. Painted that, and then did some blues and brims and a bunch of Skyflyers and stuff. So I did all of that, but sold them off since. As I played them once, they were. It didn't feel like you were really giving people a fair game. It felt just I can push it forwards, do whatever I want, and if you get the right dice, you'll be alright. Otherwise, I'm in control of this game. I've always been slightly weird in that I actually prefer playing armies at the bottom end of the power curve. So Tomb Kings in 8th edition, and that Dwarfs before that, and Wood Elves when they were garbage. So yeah, always played down at the lower end of the power curve. It's not entirely true always. I played Lizardmen for a bit when they were stupidly good, and actually just didn't enjoy my games up on the top 2, and that's part of what informed my decision of no, let's play the other armies. So yeah, so that has factored into my having. So what have I got for Chaos and Mode? Skaven, and well, I'm obviously with, as I say, with the Great Unclean one, just bringing the Nurgle back up to full force as well. Got the Khorne in the box, but I sold off all of the Siege stuff because yeah, just the army was just too good. Right, what's next? That's the armor pretty much there. Picked out bit the fabric, picked out the chest, belly, plate, symbol thing. The eyes will get bit more just to make them more orangey. I guess the metals need something done with them, and the bone. So, where do I go first? Right, so the metals, this is where I now just do cheating, and this is a product called ModelMate Rust Effect. This stuff is phenomenal for rusty metal, and well, you'll see when I put it on, but it's a really sort of thick gloop. I would guess it's alcohol based. It's water soluble, so you can scrub it off with water, but the way it goes on and then just sort of dries down into a fantastic rust with just zero effort makes this stuff phenomenal. It's how I've done all my Deathguard. But yeah, and you'll notice I've switched over to a synthetic brush as well. But yeah, so see how I've sort of ended up splatting that halfway down the pad. Rather than rushing to clean it up now, what I find is a much better way to work with this stuff is just let it dry, and then where I've said it's water soluble, or where it says it's water soluble, if you just go back once it's all dried with a damp brush, you don't want it dripping water, but damp brush, and you can effectively just scrub it off, and it just cleans, takes away the paint, and you'll still get a little bit of residue left on there, but that just makes it really easy to do some quite cool streaking effects with it. So you're just going, well, okay, along the top of the ridge is right that there is the rust there, because that's where the metal is, down onto the sort of white ceramite, or whatever the armour stuff's called, ceramite's right, I think, wherever it's dribbled down onto there, well, you wouldn't, strictly speaking, have rust, so let's not have a big patch of rust on it, but it would, if the rust was wet enough, it would run down and dribble down, so you can have that slightly off-colouring rust streaks on there, and it still makes sense. Far too much on my brush there. And yeah, so it's really easy stuff to work with, and if you really don't like it, just keep pushing more water onto it, and you can strip it right back. That effectively it's though it hadn't been put on. There you go. You can see where it has started to dry out now. How the sort of proper rust effect. And if you put it on like this in the back of the weapon, I think it's a bit too light. You just layer on more, and you get different sort of deeper, heavier rust colour. So when that dries out, that'll be a bit darker still. And you can just keep adding more and more on top like that, and it'll just darken up. And yeah, so easy to get a nice effect out of this stuff. It's basically cheating in a bottle, it feels like. But and I won't just leave it at this. You see, you can either take a wet brush and strip it back down so that some of the silver shows through underneath, or you can just get whatever metallic colour you like, and put a bit of that on top of it, just to effectively give it the chipped edges and where it would get damaged and broken up, and you would have the metal, the clean metal showing through underneath. And yeah, you can see just from the way I'm putting it on here, is literally just splodge this stuff on, push it around a bit. And you can do a little bit of work of sort of targeting recesses and pushing it down and pulling it around, but what I mostly do is just get a nice thick layer of it all over, and then sort it out afterwards. So yeah, you can start to see on the back of the weapon where I put that extra layer on, you've got that darker rust just where I layered it on a bit extra. So really simple just to use this stuff. I'll do the same on this side. Have I missed any? Yeah, so that's all my metal's done. It was rusted up. And as I say, I'll go back over and pick stuff out. But actually, let's give this. Make sure my brush is still coming out a bit orange. This stuff is quite claggy. It does stick into the brush. But So where this, where this is a bit of piping in the middle here. If I just take my wet big glob of water that I hadn't meant to be on there, ran down. But yeah, if I just put that across, then I can just work my brush up and down it with the water and pull that off. And there you go. So I get my cleaned up black pipe showing back through. And if I do it here, there you go. That cleans back off of the pad, but you can see where there's a bit of a residue left, and it just slightly tints and colours it as though, almost as though it's run down. But yeah, you can pull it around as much as you like, and yeah, you can see I left a dot of it in the middle of the pad there, but if I just stroke it away, it's gone. So it's super easy to work with that stuff, and you can see from the weapon where it's dried down again with the darker bits around the edges there where I layered a second layer. And the one thing I've found is that you do want to just spend the time to go back over this. It doesn't have to be anything particularly technical, but breaking up so it's not got straight edge, so I'm just making it fit in with the streakiness of the rest of it. Just makes such a difference to the end look. But yeah, literally there's no skill and finesse to this particularly, it's just shoving stuff around however you like it. And to be honest, that's the vast majority of my painting. There's nothing technical in there. It's, any old person should have the ability to do that. Now, I was reading. I'll switch back onto the sable brush. Reading a tutorial type thing from a guy who was doing bone today, and it was the sort of darker to the tips type bone, but he said literally all he did was, from the base coat, consistently layered on extra washes up towards the tips of them. And I put that on too thick and it ran down. I used the special cleaning tool. But yeah, just thickening it up towards the tips of them. And then his final step was a sort of dirty, I don't know, wet brush or dry brush of a sort of dark browny black onto the actual tips. And he was super happy with the effect he got. So I want to give it a shot. Yeah, the one thing with this is just not to leave a really blatantly obvious thick squared off edge like there. So just feathering out a little bit and breaking it up and trying to make it more natural, because hey, guess what, bone should look natural. But yeah, I'm intrigued to see how this all turns out in the end, because I've done bone a bit like this before, but just the way the guy was talking about it just sounded super easy. But maybe it's that repeatedly doing multiple layers and letting it dry might be a ball ache. So let's give it a shot and see. So I am running out of Agrax, but I'm sure I can easily enough find something else. That will do. I'm very much not a painter who just has one type of paint and sticks on the same thing. Well, I have two big boxes just with paint stacked in front of them, and it's Games Workshop, P3, Coat d'Arms, Scale 75, Vallejo, and then technical paints from. I've got some of the Forge Worlds. What else have I got? Some AK, some of the Army Painter. What do they call them? Soft tone, strong tone, dark tone. What the quick shade inks. The Vallejo. Metal color metals. These things are phenomenal. But yeah, it's no brand loyalty. I'll just mess about with everything, and I tend to buy loads of stuff, and some of it will be really similar. So if I run out of one, I'll just use a different manufacturer's equivalent. Right. I'll just get, and actually I'll let you see it, the metal color steel, which I'll go back on very synthetic, just because best practice metals, they do eat through your brush a bit quicker. But with this, I'm just at first looking to catch on edges. I've got far too much on my brush here, but I really don't need to be controlled with this at the moment. So, yeah, I need to take a bit off the brush still. And yeah, there's nothing, again, nothing technical to what I'm doing. Stippling, splodging, catching edges, just doing, with sort of rusty metals, you don't want it all to be too precise and even. So I figured if I just go with a messy approach, and then I can always tidy it up later or add more if I think it should be done differently. And that just makes it that bit more fun to do as well. You spend all your time carefully building up loads of brush control, and then you come back and you do stipple, and it's like, yeah, the first thing I want you to do is just like, it's not that you don't care about brush control, but it's all about just applying paint in a different way to, I guess, what is the classic, oh, I've got perfect control of my brush approach in some ways. But that's slightly harsh. It's not that you don't want control. Right, is there any of those I've missed? Oh, the outside of the weapon door. There you go. This is probably the better way to do it. I've got a bit less on my brush, and now when I stroke it across, I don't get, it doesn't even lump. I get all sorts coming through, and I can catch edges and. Put a bit too much rust down the chest plate now. Doesn't look bad, but it's just, again, if I just break it up and pull it back a bit, it's just, it'll feel a little bit more, I don't know, realistic, more appropriate anyway. Yeah, so there you go. Now I've got some decent rusty metals. And my bone can just get another layer now. So that's about 40 odd minutes I've been faffing about with this guy so far. And as I say, all I'd done to it before you saw me start was zenithal prime, and then sprayed over a thin layer of colour over that just to get the right sort of start for the armour, and then a single wash of Thorian Camel Shade. Might have been 2 layers, just if it hadn't gone down thick enough or even enough or whatever, but can't remember exactly. thrown in a camo shade, and then that was where I started on this. So 40 minutes from there has taken me from base airbrush layer to this. Now, not going to be amazing, but for what is a tabletop standard, and hopefully decent tabletop standard, be acceptable for most people. So, and again, just trying to break up the edges a little bit and not have just a clear line of here's where I have placed my wash. Yeah, and as I say, I've not I sort of do this for my bone usually, but I'm specifically trying something I was reading someone talking about, and just a little bit different to what I normally do. The one other thing I need to do is just go and just catch the edges of these recesses with a nice dark colour, just to really define the edges a little bit better, or define the edges of the plates. And stuff like this waist belt, I will just leave that. The colour is nothing else in the model is kind of that colour. Yeah, actually this should be a different colour. They should probably have been brought up white. But yeah, stuff like that waist belt, I'll just leave it that sort of greeny browny colour that is just the base coat now. If you're doing a proper high-end paint job, that would be completely unacceptable, I guess. Not unacceptable, is the wrong description, but you would want to spend more effort on it. But for me, nobody's ever really going to particularly look at that and go, oh, that's the way I want to focus on his pouches on his waistband. Why haven't they been brought up into a more appropriate brown colour with lots of highlights and shading and everything? Is it? It's a waistband on the back of the middle of the model. Yeah, whatever. So, alright, if I take, that's the previous guy I completed before this. So if I have a look, I've got an edge highlight to do on the green to bring that up and give it this sort of similar thing. I need to bring the fly waspy thing on his chest down a little bit more. I put an orange wash over that. Again, orange wash over the eyes. It's possibly a little bit more snap to the white in his armour, but it doesn't not work. And yeah, he's the tooth one, he's obviously the bone one. And then up here I have the tentacly one. So you can see how between the three of them they more or less look consistent with each other. So what I just need to do is wait for the washes on his bone to dry, and then I can darken them down further. And I think I might be able to go to the sort of grey-black, messy, wet brush, dry brushy type thing now. And in the meantime, I've got 2 bits of smoke I need to pick out, and then a wash just over that, just to orange it down, or the eye sockets as well. So I shall do them now and then do the smoke. And now the eyes. Right, so that's that. The green edge highlight, and then I'll do this. In fact, I can put a base onto the smoke to get it started rather than waiting. This is, what's this, faded khaki? Hopefully this is grey enough. Yeah, that should do the trick. Oh. This, and then bring it up to a sort of more whitey colour. Again, I'm not sure. I think on other models I did sensory type ball things in metal, but I don't know. Don't know what I want. Yeah, I'll tell you what, let's be super lazy and see if we can just get away with just slapping the rust effect straight onto that top sensor and see how it comes out. Oh, sorry. Oh, it's probably not quite light enough. Right. So when I start, I'll maybe put an extra bit of white onto the 2 bits of smoke, but then I can just toss a green glaze over them. That'll come out nicely. And these are starting to dry out, but let's just do the waistband first, and that is Arctic Olive, which is the P3 colour, and then I'm using Coat d'Arms Japanese uniform to just brighten that up for the highlight colour. So I think I'd already put an Arctic onto this, but it'll do me no harm to just drop that back on again. And if I bring this up too high and I'm not happy with it, I can always knock it back down again. Right, let's get the Arctic out now. There you go, so that's just giving a bit of definition to the edges of those. Oh, sorry, I missed the back. Alright, so a nice black grease. Let's try to go for... Right, the reason I'm using this, I've somehow weirdly managed to lose one of my paints. I have no idea where it's gone, but it's there's a Vallejo paint called, I think it's German Grey that I normally use, and this is Chorus Black, which is exactly the same, and then Coat d'Arms, do a Panzer Grey. All three of them are just a really nice dark grey off black colour. Yeah, it's just it's my go-to. I say it's my go-to. I just listed about 5 different colours there, but that sort of off, very dark grey, not quite black, is absolutely just my go-to whenever I want to do anything that is natural and going down towards a black. Cause if you go with any of the pure blacks that pretty much all of the paint lines have, they're just too, they're not natural looking at all. When you put it on, it's just too extreme a change, whereas you go just that dialed back a little bit to this dark grey colour, it just works so much better in my opinion. Obviously there's times where you'll want something that is that near enough pure black colour, but whereas I see it's this sort of bit more natural, bit more what you get in real life TM. But yeah, there you go. You can see just catching the top end of that with a black, where you've got the then brown below it. It really just works super easily to give you what is quite a nice effect with bugger all effort there. So, that's just that one hiding under there. So I think that's me going through and caught the black onto the end of all of the bones. So if I rust up this sphere at the top of his back, oh, these shouldery things, I think I'll slap a yellow over as well just to pop them out a little bit more. We might be sort of missing out a little bit because we've not done any metallics onto this. We'll see if I'm then just able to go over and catch edges with the metal if it looks alright, or if I need to, if it should have been done metallic first. But this was me just being lazy. Oh, that one's down the bottom as well. And in there. Oh, in fact, there's all sorts of stuff I haven't done here because that pipe should be a different colour too. Right, still got a bit of metallic here. Let's just not even going to wait for this to dry. Let's just catch some edges, make it look metallic. Same goes down here. So yeah, oh, sorry, I drifted off camera there. That's starting to look how I wanted it to. As I say, I'll just go back and catch this cable that I'd somehow missed. And I just go into dark grey. There's nothing terribly interesting on them. Some of the models had done them in green, but for whatever reason I decided they could be either or. Just a couple of spots where that piping had picked up some of the armour white where I'd been putting that on. Yeah, there we go. If I get Waywatcher green, slap this over my smoke.